Inner Tribulations. These are the sons of the Lion, and it is no small task to impress them. I have fought in almost 100 engagements since joining my brethren on the Rock, leading Squad Grelius to complete every mission assigned, yet not a word of praise have I heard. And rightly so, for such duty were we created and trained. Yet against the cultist waves and demon tides invading Hive Troll, our squad alone held a crucial hab complex against the enemy. When Grandmaster Belial arrived to retake the area and recover the gene seed of the dead, he was surprised to find we had held the line. I think I even saw him smile. In that moment, I believed our acceptance amongst our brethren was complete. From Hellblaster Sergeant Grelius. Immediate concern over the integration of the Primarchs Space Marines among the Unforgiven was soon assuaged as the new warriors adapted to the Unforgiven's ways of war and performed well alongside their battle brothers. Yet, mistrusting of others by nature, the Dark Angels and the Unforgiven were not quick to assimilate these new arrivals. The Primarchs Marines of the Ultima founding had not heard the apocryphal tales or gone through the long indoctrinations like those of the Unforgiven. They were not tested in battle. Their loyalty to their parent chapters had not been ascertained in the painstakingly detailed way the firstborn Dark Angels preferred. But those who had suffered most at the Darkmoor massacre, the Angels of Vengeance, Consecrators and Guardians of the Covenant, were more eager than others to use the Primarchs. Thus began a great period of intensive testing and scrutiny. The Primarchs formed superbly in battle, notably in Warzone Stygius, Saltire Vex, the Siege of Hive Troll, All Hallow, and the Gratian Incursion. The Primarchs were found to adapt well to the Unforgiven's ways of war and fight competently alongside their battle brothers. In addition, their various squad types, weapons and vehicles proved useful assets for those commanding Dark Angel strike forces across numerous war zones. Bonds were forged in battle, and many observed that their Primarchs brethren's temperament and tendencies were very much like their own, presumably as a result of shared gene seed. The Dark Angels hastened to induct more Primarchs Space Marines from scratch after observing their battlefield capabilities, indoctrinating these neophytes as they would any other recruits. Thus were more Primarchs added to the chapter's ranks, molded in exactly the manner the chapter desired. Some of the firstborn Dark Angels chose to cross the Rubicon Primarchs, impressed by the physical feats that their new brethren could achieve. Some traditionalists refused to go through such a process. Others advised against this course of action. With a high risk of death during the procedure, the chapter could lose many of its warriors. Some crossed without choice, returned to battle readiness after suffering grievous injuries only through the intervention of the new Primarchs organs. The Inner Circle decreed that the Apothecarian would carry this out with seriously wounded battle brothers to ensure that the chapter had more Primarchs Space Marines who could be fully trusted. The Primarchs were undoubtedly powerful and useful, but many of the Inner Circle retained misgivings over the former Grey Shields of the Unnumbered Sons who had reinforced the Unforgiven. Inevitably, questions arose around whether Primarchs Space Marines, formerly of the Grey Shield and of the Ultima founding chapters, should be inducted into the Inner Circle. Some Firstborn argued that it simply could not be allowed to happen. Others stated that as inheritors of the Lion's genetic legacy, they should have the mental fortitude to handle the secrets they might learn, and indeed a responsibility to play their part in the eventual defeat of the fallen. Some took a more pragmatic view, their stance being that battlefield attrition alone might require it. The debate moved from a purely theoretical one, as some members of the Inner Circle personally vouched for certain individuals, or reported incidents where the fallen had been observed by those who should not have seen them. One such example was Interrogator Chaplain Xenos, who had been serving alongside the Third Company in the Chalnath Expanse. His testimony was of particular significance, given his previous hostility to the reinforcements brought to the Rock by Robert Guilliman. All of these arguments informed Supreme Grandmaster Azrael's thinking on this most important of questions. His knowledge of the Dark Angel's secrets surpassed all others, and he alone knew the full risks and opportunities in any course of action. All of this information bore upon his thinking, as did his own experience of seeing the Grey Shield's impressive skills in battle. He thought long on the matter. Luther's escape weighed heavily on his mind. This burden was only made heavier when rumors reached him of a mustering of the fallen beginning in the Somnium Stars. He doubted little that Luther himself was in some way responsible. Should these rumors hold any truth, potentially every one of the Unforgiven would have to be ready to meet the threat. No doubt, this played a significant role in his decision to permit the induction of the former Grey Shields and Warriors of the Ultima Founding into the Inner Circle, should they be deemed worthy of such an honor and indeed judged capable of withstanding the shock of the truth. When Azrael made his decision known, many of the company masters and chapter masters were incensed. Knowing that he could not tell them of Luther's escape, Azrael faced the prospect of causing a second schism amongst the Sons of the Lion. The gravest threat the Dark Angels and their successors had faced in 10,000 Terran years brewed in the Somnium Stars, and he risked making more of his brothers renegade. Employing all of his diplomatic skill and appealing to the successors' unimpeachable sense of duty, he persuaded all to consider another test. The Deathwing had petitioned him with one brother Apharan. The former Grey Shield had earned their attention, and the Deathwing believed he might be worthy of joining their number. Azrael put to the chapter masters and masters that he had confidence that Apharan would pass the trials, hear the truth, and succeed as any Dark Angel might. Azrael staked his chapter's entire reputation on a single warrior. Many of those skeptical were moved by Azrael's conviction and humility before them, despite his superior rank. Many were persuaded by this act alone, knowing that Azrael would never make such a choice without total confidence in future success. He personally oversaw Apharan's trials, which the former Grey Shield passed. While some of the successor masters remained skeptical, they still conformed, their loyalty to and trust in Azrael outweighing their doubts. With this matter resolved, the Dark Angels and the Unforgiven ply the stars with renewed vigor and unity of purpose, just as the Lion and his knights swept Old Caliban, purging the galaxy of the traitor, mutant, heretic, and alien wherever they find them. For the Unforgiven, the slaying of every foe is an act of repentance. They break sieges, crush rebellions, and stymie invasions, all the while their inner circles remain ever vigilant for signs of the fallen, following leads wherever they are found. Those Primaris Marines formerly of the Grey Shields have knowledge of Mars and the returned Primarch beyond the wildest dreams of the Librarius and Interrogator Chaplains, and provide vital intelligence that the Dark Angels never had access to before. Despite their eventual embrace of their Primaris brethren, the Dark Angels were less accepting of the Martian Magi who accompanied them when Guilliman reached the Rock. These senior tech priests are essential to the induction and creation of new Primaris Space Marines. a state of affairs the chapter finds extremely irksome. Many pains have been taken to give them as little access to the rock as possible and keep them under heavy surveillance. At the same time, the Dark Angels' tech marines and apothecaries strive to learn all they can from the Magi, in the hopes that they can render the Martian priests redundant. The Unforgiven operate with great coordination in these most trying of times. Accusations of legion building are spoken louder than ever before in some inquisitorial circles, but the counter-arguments in defense of the Dark Angels and their successors are now made just as loudly. The Unforgiven's martial might is beyond question, their tally of victories now beyond count. Some make the argument that such a force acts as an essential counterweight to the growing political power of Ultramar in the Imperium following Guilliman's resurrection. The ferocity of this debate has grown such that internecine conflict has broken out among some inquisitors, each participant believing they are doing what is best for the Imperium. The coming storm. Rumors, psychic signatures, and the torture-wrought confessions of captured prisoners tell of a mustering of the archenemy within the darkest recesses of the warp-shrouded Imperium Nihilus. They speak of a gathering of many of the fallen angels in the Somnium stars, a corrupted Dark Angels Legion reassembling in numbers enough to bring the entire galaxy to heel. Azrael alone suspected the truth of who was leading them, and the terrible conflict to come. Awakening. In the era Indomitus, during the Arcs of Omen campaign, Lionel Johnson awoke at last from his 10,000-year-long sleep within the very heart of the rock. While his brother Primarch Robert Guilliman's forte lies in matters of command and administration, task he accomplishes with aplomb, Lionel Johnson was ever a warrior, a hunter and killer first and foremost. Now awakened into a galaxy of darkness and insanity, he strides between the stars on a mission of vengeance. Yet somehow, long before his return reached the ears of the wider galaxy, the Lion's legend had begun to spread from planet to planet within Imperial space. Disconnected worlds united by a mysterious figure who stalked from mist-wreathed passageways to cut down fearsome monsters like chaff. Some knew him as the Cowled Giant or the Unforgiving Knight, or even mistakenly as the Emperor Incarnate, and his arrival was always heralded by an apparition of ancient forests fading from the ether. The true nature of this empiric travel is known only to the Primarch himself, but as he lay slumbering beneath the rock, his dreams often returned to the Calibanite forests of his youth. Could he have been born in his restless sleep to other worlds by the ghosts of that same arboreal realm, slain in the destruction of Caliban? He is certainly not telling, but the practical applications of this ability to appear as if from nowhere through the warp are not lost on him.